Working at a call center when I was in college, I didn't last 2 weeks in that position. I hated it. Every time that phone rang, there's always somebody screaming at me saying,
"Cancel my service."
and they are beyond pissed off for something probably so stupid. And they will raise their voice, scream at me, call me names, tell me how incompetent I am when I have not even finished announcing my name when I picked up the phone. I am not exaggerating when I say when I clocked in at 8 a.m., I was over it by 9:15. But I understand. I get it. You're having an issue with your service, you're frustrated, and you want to yell at somebody. And I guess working for a little bit above minimum wage is okay to be your punching bag. However, I decided to make this video to show managers what academic research has shown that can improve the quality of service provided to customers, reduce burnout from employees, and turnover as well. A study published in 2001 has shown that there is a severe lack of motivation from employees working in call centers because emotional burnout is the main factor. Lack of pay is a second factor, and a lack of growth is also a significant factor in the study. The study has shown that managers are more focused on getting calls out rather than solving the problem itself. So essentially, they're more focused on quantity over quality, which in turn will cause poor customer service, and at the end of the day, they're going to cancel their service and go with a competitor that offers decent customer service. This causes much pressure and emotional strain for the call center employees because they are being tracked at how many calls they're taking rather than how many problems are they solving. Employees reported severe emotional distress from abusive customers when they were taking these calls and lack of support from management and leadership. In response, the best advice that are given by management and leadership is that don't take it seriously, don't take it personally. And in my experience as a leader, this is terrible advice to give to an employee. Don't take it personally is a horrible statement. You as a manager need to support your staff. You as a manager need to give the emotional support to your staff members when they're being abused by your customers. It will be profoundly prudent and wise to allow your staff member to get a breather of fresh air. Let them get coffee. Let them take a 15-minute break. You as a manager need to support your staff. And if your response to this is to make them continue taking calls, then don't be surprised when they turn in their resignation letter or perhaps even stop showing up to work, which in turn is going to damage the organization because you're down one person. Then you have to take the resources to hire another person, train that person. And then when that person is fully trained, then someone else is going to quit. Or perhaps that person you were just training realized that they don't like this job or they don't like your style of management, and then they will end up quitting. This ultimately is going to affect your customers, and an unhappy customer is going to take their business elsewhere. So at the end of the day, higher leadership is going to realize your incompetence as a manager and ultimately replace you, and then you'll find yourself out of a job or demoted and taking calls with your fellow former subordinates at the cost of moderate humiliation. It is suggested to modify or at least influence policy to allow breather moments in between calls so the call center representatives can take a moment to gather their thoughts or write down their notes or have a brief moment of relaxation before taking another call rather than hanging up with the customer and then the phone automatically ringing again. We understand that there are many people waiting in line to have service, but a motivated customer service individual will be more than likely to help the customer with their issues rather than a burnt out customer service member who are dreading another phone call and likely will not care for the issues that the customer is having, and therefore a solution will probably not be achieved. For some odd reason, there is an unusually high amount of drama that occurs in these call centers. Like I said, when I was in college, I worked in a call center, and then and next door to my place of employment is a call center now, and I could not tell you how much drama is in these call centers. People are fighting amongst each other. People are arguing with leaders, managers. There's words always being exchanged. It blows my mind what kind of drama goes into this professional environment. And something that I cannot fathom is that we're supposed to be talking to customers the entire day. So how are y'all engaging with each other and getting to the point where y'all are beefing when you're not even supposed to be at that level? So that brings up a hostile work environment. And we all know it's common knowledge that a hostile work environment is going to contribute to employee turnover. As a manager, what exactly are you doing that's allowing this toxicity to ensue and spread? Are you the cause of toxicity, or are you afraid of your employees? If you're afraid of your employees, then you have no business being a manager. If you do not like conflict, then there are many methods to avoid conflict with your staff. You can always start by setting an individual meeting with them and asking, what is the problem? What is going on? Why are you acting like this towards your peers or your customers? Ask them, what can you do to help them flourish in the organization? Me personally, I do not tolerate toxicity whatsoever. If there is a person who cannot be coached into performing better, then they need to leave the organization. They gotta go. They are not going to be spreading that toxicity under my watch. They are not going to cause other employees to dread coming to work, and they're not going to be a bully, not to the customer, not to the employees, and definitely not to me. And there's also the issue of micromanaging. If you're micromanaging your employees, then you're managing wrong. And the reason I say this is because you need to train your employees to be independent. They don't need your help. They don't need you hovering over them, and they definitely don't need you spying on their calls. The only time that the employees will need your help is if they cannot come up with a solution with the customer and the customer is requesting to speak to a supervisor. And 9 times out of 10, you need to agree with your employee. If there is a situation in which the customer is trying to cheat the organization into free services, or they're purposely being deceptive, and your employee catches that and denies their request, then you should back them up. Imagine the embarrassment and dishonor that your employee feels when you go and contradict them in front of the customer. The customer is getting what they want, which is great, but sometimes a dishonest customer does not deserve free services or anything of that nature. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you have to agree with your employee all the time. There's going to be times where your employee was going to be in the wrong, or sometimes the decision will be in the best interest of the customer. Sometimes the customer, if not most of the time, the customer is not dishonest, and honoring a request to retain their business may be the appropriate option. It might not be in the favor of the employee, but it is all in a case-by-case basis. Do a little huddle. Hey, just a heads up, the reason why I made this decision is because of X, Y, and Z. As I said before, don't micromanage your employees. There's going to be a few bad apples that you're going to have to watch like a child, but that's not going to be the case most of the time. Studies show that independent employees are more creative. They're more creative in resolving problems with the customer. They're more creative in production of their work. It's not specifically in call centers, but in all organizations, independent employees will perform better. In one of my graduate classes, I was researching the issues when it comes to wait times, which is profoundly frustrating for everyone. Everyone hates being on hold. But in one of the articles in the Journal of Management, I saw that many call centers are rolling out a feature called "We Will Call You Back," meaning that the customer will put their phone number in the system, and then the system will call them back when a call center representative is available to talk to them. And I think that's great because the customer is not going to be on hold with horrible music for 20, 30, 40 minutes. What I've learned and also experienced myself personally is that when I have a organization call me back, that I'm in a much better mood. I'm not sitting there frustrated on hold for such a long time, and therefore my demeanor is much more calmer. And ultimately, I see positive results. And also the journals that I've read also saw positive results as well. I'm sure it's in the best interest of both employees and the customers to roll out this feature in these call centers, because I believe that we can spend more time with the customer, and if we can spend more time with the customer instead of rushing them off the phone, we can come up with a better solution for their issues that they're having. And by coming up with better solutions, the customer is going to be happier, and a happy customer means they're going to return our service, they're going to renew their contract, and that ultimately means that we're going to continuously have cash flow from this customer. In terms of pay, I really can't comment too much on pay because I don't have access to your books. I don't have access to the budget. However, I can say that pay these people a decent wage. I understand that most call centers pay a little bit above minimum wage, which is like what, $10, which is it's not enough, especially for the amount of crap that these people go through. They deserve a little bit of a higher wage. They deserve a living wage. And I'm a genuine believer that people are going to act their wage. If they're not having a living wage, or they have a small wage or a minimum wage, they're going to act their wage. And what I mean by that, they're not going to care. They're not going to care for the success of the organization. They're not going to care about the customer, which, spoiler alert, they are the main source of cash flow. They're the reason why we have a job. Customers who are pissed off at our service, at our customer service reps, they're going to discontinue the service. And at the end of the day, our hours are going to be cut. Our jobs are going to be in danger, or we're going to be ultimately replaced. So the whole point of this podcast is that nobody likes working at call centers. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I can't wait until I get yelled at by some piece of shit who disagrees with 35-cent charge of whatever on their bill." Or they just want to scream at somebody because they know they cannot do anything about it. So at the very least, you should make their environment more comfortable, even though it's not a career. But at the very least, you should make sure that they are taken care of. Make sure that their emotional needs are taken care of without overstepping your boundaries. Make sure that there's no shitty employees who are causing workplace toxicity, no bullies. Make sure that even the managers themselves are not shitty people. You got to make sure that the environment is pleasant. And pay these people a decent wage. Just pay them something that will keep them around for at least a little bit. I am a genuine believer that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. If you take care of your customers, then the business will take care of itself. If you like this podcast style video, by all means, please subscribe and share and let me know what you think in the comments. I am all for constructive criticism as long as you're trying to teach me something. Also, let me know any ideas for any future podcasts or any topics you would like to discuss. Thanks for watching.